apply emotional intelligence to promote team performance. That's the task itself. So these are the enablers. Support and recognize team member growth and development.
Yeah.
That's issue 1.3.2. Okay. Assess behavior through the use of personality indicators, and then analyze personality indicators and adjust to the needs of key stakeholders. These are interesting points. We'll still explain them. Generally, when you talk of emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
we're talking of skills to master yourself in
Mhm.
addition to skills to master how you relate with other people.
Yeah.
Skills to master yourself in addition to skills to master relation with other people. Mastery, self-mastery.
Mhm.
Here we are talking of self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. Self-awareness, self-motivation, self-regulation, and motivation.
Mhm.
Self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation. We discuss this. Interpersonal skill. That one talks about the skills you need to enhance how you deal with other people.
Yeah.
Two major things here: social skills and empathy. Social skills essentially is about how well do you relate, mix, inter, yeah, relate to people.
Okay.
Empathy is a key component of social skills, and empathy essentially means how well can you think in the shoe of another person?
Yeah.
How well can you be? Can you bring others to? Can you deal with others as though you are experiencing what they are experiencing?
Okay.
So it's a deeper level of relationship when you're able to express empathy and think in the direction or from the perspective of the people you are dealing with. It's a very
Yeah.
important skill in being able to manage people. Okay, so yeah, those are the five components of emotional intelligence. Well, if you go to some books, they will say four components. In fact, let me even say I did the first time I'm saying five components of emotional intelligence. I don't usually see motivation there, but PMI is including motivation as part of self mastery, personal skills.
Okay.
So emotional intelligence, we're talking about you being able to know feelings. Yes, that is a core component of empathy. Being able to know feelings, master what is inside of you, especially in relating to yourself and relating to others. Then you need to perceive the relationship between or the connection between feelings and behavior. These things are interrelated. For example, the way you will behave when you are happy is different from the way you will behave when you are sad. The way you will behave when you are agitated. So there is a link between our feelings and our behavior. The problem is a lot of these things go under the radar, and a lot of times people don't perceive these so-called small things. They are not perceived. A lot of times these things just go without you actively taking note of them. So that's the reason why it now takes extra caution. It takes extra effort for you to be able to put your ears on the ground. In this case now, put your ears on your heart to be able to feel what is going on beneath your skin, particularly in the direction of your emotions in the direction of your feelings, in the direction of your behavior to yourself and to others. So you also need to recognize how emotions affect performance. That one is quite obvious, but as obvious as it is, few people are actually actively taking steps to monitor and master their emotions in the direction of being able to improve performance. So part of emotional awareness is also being conscious of your values, being conscious of your goals. Hmm. All of these things are long, require long explanations. So because we have a lot to want to cover today, let's just move on. Accurate self-assessment. Like I mentioned last class, you are not emotionally intelligent if you do not have the capacity to lead yourself. It starts with you being self-aware. Like I said, a lot of all this emotional this, emotional that, they happen under the radar. It takes an inquisitive person to learn the skill to be able to go below the radar and go and detect the signals within the heart, the signals within the mind. You should be able to answer the question of knowing what exactly makes me hungry, what exactly makes me sad, what exactly makes me happy, how much of external things make me sad, make me hungry. When I'm dealing with my co-workers in the office, what happens when I get irritated? What irritates me? What makes me strong? What makes me motivated? And then how well can I change my behavior? When I am angry at this point in time, can you just take out some minutes to investigate how did I get angry at this point? Am I able to slow down my reaction? Am I able to put a gap between the stimulus and the reaction? Am I able to? So all of these things, because we are born to just work on impulse. You just based on impulse, you take action. Action and reaction. Something happens, baka, then you react without even thinking. It just happens. That's how we're created. But people who are more self-aware are able to separate the action from the reaction. They're able to separate the action to say, okay, this is the action. In some cases, you might not be able to have control over the action, but they are able to realize the fact that they have control over the reaction. And then you realize that such people become extremely intelligent in the sense that they're able to control themselves a lot more. But even before we get to the point of being able to control yourself, it starts with yourself being able to recognize yourself. And that's what we mean by accurate self-assessment. Perceiving strengths and weakness, becoming aware of blind spots. If you want to, if you want to, if you want to find out more about yourself, just go online and Google the blind spots of humans, psychological blind spots of humans. You realize that we humans are exceedingly weak creatures. We are exceedingly weak. There's so much of cognitive blind spots that we have, so much of intellectual blind spots that we have, so much so that some people they have made livelihood out of being able to manipulate humans, out of being able to deceive humans, because we are easy to deceive. We are so easy to deceive. So someone who is more emotionally aware would be able to strive so much. First of all, in recognizing the blind spots, trust me, there are tons and tons of blind spots that we have. There are tons and tons of blind spots that we have. And because of time, I wouldn't go into that discussion. But there are tons and tons of blind spots, inherent weaknesses in we humans that you just have to take out time to identify those blind spots before you now start talking of being able to fix them. And that's why you realize that a lot of all these intelligence, all those CIA, SSS, these people, they take them through extreme psychological drills. Extreme psychological drills to be able to try as much as possible to counter some of these human blind spots, cognitive blind spots, intellectual blind spots. And then you should know your emotional triggers. I mentioned it earlier. You have won half the battle if you're able to know yourself. In fact, there is this quote that says, know thyself. Know thyself. It is so easy for all of us to just live the life of we wake up, we do our normal chores, we move on. We sleep, wake up, normal chores, move on. Sleep, wake up, do our normal chores, move on. And then we are almost on an autopilot wherein we have ready-made answers for so many things. If this happens subconsciously, the answer is this. If this happens subconsciously, the answer is this. Now, the problem with that approach to life is that we become like robots, wherein our body or our mind makes us to act in certain ways without even allowing the brain to have an input into the process at all. They are just there. Once this happens, you do this without even thinking about it. Now, one of those things you need to do is to sit down and x-ray your day, x-ray your behavior, x-ray your mindset, x-ray your emotional states, and especially how it enters one form of emotional state or the other. When you perform the x-ray, you are doing a self-assessment of yourself. You're doing an assessment of yourself. What self-confidence? Expressing potentially unpopular opinions, taking risks, displaying poise, self-assurance, having knowledge of self-esteem, proficiencies, being decisive. These are all interesting points. Let's move on. Now, what I've just talked about before now is about self-awareness, being able to consciously monitor yourself and note what you are doing and get to do things consciously, actively, not just passively or automatically from the robotic part of your mentality. So the other part of of emotional intelligence is self-regulation. Under self-regulation, we have self-control. So self-control means you are able to remain calm under pressure. You are able to resist shouting back at those times. Staying focused in a stressful environment. Controlling rash, destructive emotions. I'm sure all of us would have had this episode of maybe you are driving. You know, there's this normal saying of saying, I remember this quote, I'll let this statement of one of my relatives. The person was driving one day, and then the person would had to shout and yell and curse at one of these public transport people. And then there was somebody in the car that was saying, calm down now. Why did you allow them to make you lose your cool this much? So that person replied saying, oh, don't worry. When you two start driving, you will understand. So the question is, do we really think you can drive and still maintain your cool? Mr. Gbalan, how far? Are you there?
No,
OMG.
you have not.
No,
Oh, I can hear
I'm
you.
here, sir.
Uh,
It was difficult to unmute quickly.
okay. Yes, I wanted to ask Mr. Gbalan a quick question. Are you there, Mr. Gbalan?
Yes, I'm here.
How well do you think one can get the self-control to be able to resist shouting back at these transport people on the streets?
Some people are very, some people, well, it's tough.
Hey, so what they are saying now is even you sometimes you succumb to their madness by shouting back.
I don't think you can survive in
Is
Lagos without that.
is that what?
That in Lagos without shouting back.
You can't live in Lagos without shouting back. Oh my god. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. 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 In fact, I remember there was this episode I had recently in front of UI. I was driving in front of Agbo, and I'd lived in Agbo for some years. So when I first got married, it was in Agbo I lived for less than a year before I got something else. So there was this guy I was driving. I was saying, I will beat you up. I was like, wait, you know what I told you? I said, well, you will just die. I left that place. I was saying, Ibrahim, no one will know why you're right? I think, well, you just die. You beat me. Hey, in front of UI, where I've used almost 2 decades of my life, and in Agbowo, where I've also lived, oh, you will just die. That's what I told you. But then, I get to ask myself that is natural for them to do what they do. These people spend much more time on the streets than us, and they are used to the rough life of anything goes, anything, say anything, do anything. But then, how can one work more on oneself such that you are able to develop a thick skin from all these matters, such that you are not easily swayed? So your calmness is not easily distorted by these people. This is a, is I want to say is a height of self-control. Is a height of self-control. Is a height of self-control. And self-control is one of the big areas of being a good leader. Something happened some days ago, and was in the office. I mistakenly scolded someone. I wrongly scolded two people. I was annoyed and I scolded them in a very rough way. And then when I finished scolding them, apart from the fact that I realized that what I was scolding them for, I was the one that was wrong and not them. So it made me very bad. What even made it worse was that I realized that even if they were the ones that were wrong, should I have scolded them that way? Did I have scolded them that way? So, well, I'm reporting myself publicly to make you understand that this is a battle we all need to win. We all need to put our skin in the game to ensure that we are actively working on ourselves to improve our capacity to control our rash and destructive emotions. Okay, we have trustworthiness. It's part of self-regulation, acknowledging errors, challenging others' immoral conduct, establishing confidence via reputation for honesty and credibility, standing by principles, behaving in a morally correct way above suspicion. As much as trustworthiness is easy to say in theory, when we are faced with situations that challenge our claim to being trustworthy, sincerely, it is then that you are able to know whether you are actually trustworthy or not. Let me give you a scenario. I am currently in a situation right now. I bought some land from some people. It's called 5 acres of land somewhere in the part of here. And um, I got to know that those who sold the land to me, they don't have the accurate measure of that land. They just know that 5.5 acres, low and bare, that kind of thing. Okay, I paid for the land. I brought my surveyor to survey the land. Yesterday, surveyor called me saying, ah, ilẹ̀ yẹn mà ju 7 acres lọ. I was like, how is that possible? Say yes, it's more than 7 acres. So, Mr. Tosin, how do you suggest that I handle the situation? You are into building. You probably must have experienced it one way or the other. How do you think such a situation is handled?
Okay. Did you buy it on? Did they give you a rate like X naira per acre?
Yes, X naira per acre, correct.
Okay. Oh boy. You get that CBO.
Oh my God.
Because well, the truth is, if it was less, I'm sure you'd have gone back to fight.
Yes, of course, definitely.
So it's only fair that maybe you might inform them. It's more than you 5 acres law. What do we do? And come to an understanding.
You see that when we say trustworthiness, it's not a title, it's a description, and it's tough. One of my friends will say, Bushman's school yẹn wípé tani o káàdì alẹ́ kíníkà something tí o káàdì alẹ́ something like that. Okay? The most important thing is that it is when they beam torchlight on us that they will now know why the ones who don't go and pick dead chicken in the night, something like that. Yes.
Being trustworthy is, I think it only counts for things that you do when nobody sees you.
Exactly. Exactly. So you need to establish confidence via reputation for honesty and credibility. You need to stand by principles. Sincerely, you need to stand by principles. Behaving in a morally correct way above suspicion. There's so much to these things. You see what these things I'm saying, it's not about religiosity now. Of course, this has to do with religiosity too. But even outside of religiosity, in your being able to say, yes, I am a whole human, these are principles that one should stand by, irrespective of whether you are religious or not religious, pastor or alpha or anything. Okay? Conscientiousness, having well-ordered, meticulous approach to work, being accountable for fulfilling goals, satisfying obligations, delivering on promises. People sometimes have issues with basic and we do it and getting it done. Some people really don't hold their word for it. You ask some people to do some things, they do a shoddy job. And it's a problem of principles. It's a problem of principles. Of principles. Some people just don't have that attitude of excellence. And that's a huge problem. And one of the reasons why people don't do things is that they realize that they get away with mediocrity in some cases. And because sometimes mediocrity is cheap and getting things done the right way could be expensive in terms of time. So it's easy for you to want to just get the easy way out and just ease out. But of course, we agree that this is the wrong approach to life. Then you have adaptability, adapting to changing events, interpreting events in a flexible way, handling numerous demands and changing priorities. Then innovation, producing fresh ideas, considering innovative answers to problems, embracing new approaches and possibilities, looking for novel ideas. Yeah, we're not done here. Okay. So, so far we've discussed self-regulation, we have discussed self-awareness. Now, motivation. So, under motivation, you have achievement drive, commitment, initiative. optimism. Mhm. All of these things are various elements of you being able to um, push yourself towards your goals, push yourself towards getting things done in life. So that has a commitment angle, that has that has like a grit, achievement drive, like grit, persistence, and then taking the initiative, and then of course being the mindset, the belief part of it. That's the optimism, being able to work on your mindset towards achieving success. Then you have the empathy aspect. I tried some, I've explained empathy earlier. So the key element here is understanding others. You want to be able to serve based on understanding who you are trying to serve, observing emotional cues, listening carefully, di- displaying tact, and appreciating others' point of views, service orientation, developing others, leveraging diversity, political awareness. Interesting. How is political awareness part of empathy? Let's read. It says understanding political truths and realities of companies, grasping influences that set opinions of clients and customers and rivals, recognizing critical social support systems, correctly interpreting power connections. All of these things are part of empathy. So social skill, you have communication, yes, building bonds, collaboration, cooperation, being a change catalyst, conflict management, influence, leadership, team capabilities. It's quite unfortunate that you don't have time. Each of these things you are discussing, you should spend like one hour on each of them, trying to give us various angles in which these things are critically important for us to survive in the business world of today. Okay? Interpersonal and team skills, active listening, communication style assessment, emotional intelligence, influencing, motivation, nominal group technique, political awareness, transparency. So this is like a general overview of what is regarded as interpersonal and team skills. Okay. Uh, okay. Mr. Malik, you did class. Interesting. Hello, Mr. Malik, are you there? Mr. Abdul Malik, are you with us? With us. So active listening, repeat the gist of the message, verify your understanding of the message, lean slightly towards the speaker, stay at eye level, maintain eye contact without staring, respond with non-verbal cues, non-verbal gesture or verbal response, ask questions, allow speaker a moment to collect their thoughts. All of these things are part of active listening, reflecting, attending, and following. So there's something called personality profile. Let me see, which experience do I have? Which personal experience do I have with this? Uh, there was one that she back on. I joined Six Stars some years ago, and when they selected me to join the program, they sent a particular personality thing to us. I can't remember the name. What was the name of that thing? I can't remember. There are different personality types. Different. We have some of them on the screen now. There are quite a number of them, but this seems to be part of the major ones. Theory of Psychological Types by Carl Jung, Meyer-Briggs Type Indicator, DISC assessment. Yes, DISC assessment is I'm familiar with DISC assessment. True color methodology. social style model, whole brain thinking. All of these are personality profile assessments. What do you mean by personality profile assessments?
Mr. Brian, are we supposed to know this thing?
No, you are not.
Ah, okay. I'm good.
No, you are not. They are not going to ask you define the DISC assessment method. No, they wouldn't. And I also want to believe that what PMI used to do before,
Mm,
asking for the name of somebody who propounded the theory, I want to
yes.
believe that they wouldn't be asking such questions anymore. But never can tell. It's just good to know. Good
Mm.
to know. I've not seen any question wherein they are asking this kind of cramming kind of information. I've not seen any. I've not seen any. Okay. So organizational theory, the study of how people, teams, and organizations behave. The purpose of organizational theory is to maximize efficiency and productivity, solve problems, motivate people, meet stakeholder requirements. So the common ones that we know of, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure you remember that one. Hmm? Physiological need, safety need, belonging need, esteem need, self-actualization needs. So it is said that you deal with people based on the level of need that you think that person is in. Okay. You have McGregor, theory X, theory Y. Theory X says most that the workers, the one they are lazy people, they don't want to work. Theory Y says the workers are very hardworking, self-motivated, they are passionate about work. If I'm not making a mistake, that's theory X, theory Y. McClelland's achievement theory, Hesberg's motivation theory. We discussed some of these things previously. So guidelines for building emotional intelligence. Okay, who will read? Mr. Tosin, can you read these things to us, please? Hello,
Okay.
Mr. Tosin, are you there?
The guidelines for building emotional intelligence with key stakeholders. Recognize your own emotions and behaviors.
Okay,
Assess how your emotions, attitudes, actions, behaviors control you.
okay,
Observe how your emotions affect those around you.
okay,
Take note of physical, nonverbal cues of others, such as a
okay,
shrug or smile.
okay.
Interpret those cues against the context, situation, and your emotions. Remain
Okay,
mindful of the emotions of others.
okay,
Mirror the behaviors of others when suitable to become better connected.
okay.
Practice controlling or changing your emotions to better suit the situation.
Hmm. Hmm. Practice controlling or changing your emotions to better suit the situation. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. At this point, we have come to the end of that slide or that lesson.